Good morning, welcome. We're going to get started in just a few more minutes, just giving everybody some time to join. Just make yourself comfortable in the meanwhile and just make sure you have some water and you're dressed comfortably and good to go. But yeah, we'll be getting started in about 3 or 4 more minutes. Good morning. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Can you just confirm for me really quick that you can hear me okay from here and no like the background noise isn't interfering? Music is okay? Okay, so we are recording. All right, so welcome. If you haven't taken a class with me before, my name is Jess. I'm really excited to just have a nice little practice on the mat together. And I always just encourage you, it's your own practice. I'm here more as a guide. So, if I cue something that just doesn't feel great in your body for that motion, feel free just not to do it, to modify it in any way. I'll offer some modifications along the way. Yeah, other than that, just have fun, be safe. Like I said, I'm here just as a guide. So if it doesn't really feel like it fits for your body today, totally feel free to, just sit that one out, take a couple breaths, or find a modified version that works really well for you. I'm notorious for forgetting to actually cue you to take water. So just take a pause, take a breath, grab water anytime you need it. If I'm forgetting to say it, it's not because you're not allowed, I'm just forgetting to say it. So with that being said, I'll have us come to our mats and we're going to get started in child's posture today. So that looks like your knees nice and wide, toes kind of close together, hips sitting back over top of the heels. Your chest is just resting over forward over top of the legs. And you can just bring the forehead to gently rest on the mat. And if this happens to be a place of tightness for the shoulders, you can always just bring the arms, widen the elbows, bring the hands in a little bit, create some nice kind of little, like a little bit of a diamond shape in the arms. And that'll just kind of loosen up some of the shoulder tension if you happen to be a person with tight shoulders here in child's pose. And just really beginning to find your breath and connect with your breath in the start of your practice here. You're just noticing the quality of the breath. And feeling how that breath feels in the body as you inhale and fill up the lungs. And as you exhale and empty the body completely, just feeling how the air feels on the way back out of the body. You need to really lengthen and deepen your inhales here in your child's pose. See if you can lengthen the back of the neck, just rolling even a little bit more forward onto the forehead, making the neck feel nice and long. And with every breath, feel the rising and the falling of the belly between the legs. Just noticing all those physical sensations that come with the breath that we might not be bringing our attention to on a normal basis as we're breathing throughout our day. From here, let's take a nice big inhale, looking forward towards the fingertips. And as you exhale, just begin to walk the hands off towards the left side of the mat. So everything from the waist down is staying where it's at. It's really only the torso, the top half of the body that's moving over to the left here. And walking to wherever you feel comfortable with those hands. Eventually, when you get to a certain point, you're just going to feel a little bit more of a stretch all down the right side of the body every time you breathe. We're making that right side of the body nice and long by reaching over to the left side of the mat. And from here, just twisting at the waist just slightly, beginning to see if you can raise that left shoulder, lifting it a little bit and taking the left hand all the way around to the small of the back. So the right bicep might become a little bit more of a resting place for the right ear. And you're just twisting from the waist, trying to open up through that left shoulder a little bit. Again, only going as far as it feels good to you in this posture. This twisting motion should really kind of intensify that stretch down the right side of the body. Every time you breathe, just breathing right into that space where you feel the stretch. And one more nice big inhale while you're here. With your exhale, unwind that left arm, bring it back to meet the right hand, and just walk yourself back to a nice neutral center child's posture position, just where we started. And as you rest in your neutral child's pose here, just check in and see now if you notice any differences on either side of the body now that we've done one side and not the other. Breathe really deep with that breath, fully inhaling, filling the lungs, expanding the belly. And exhaling, fully empty everything out. With your next inhale, look up towards the fingertips again. And as we exhale this time, walking the hands off the right side of the mat. Again, really trying only to move the torso here in this direction, making sure the hips, the legs stay nice and stable in their child's pose position. Lengthening the back of the head, let the forehead, lengthening the back of the neck, let the forehead come to rest on the mat again. And just really breathe into the stretch that you're now feeling down the left side of the body because of the position that the torso's in, really now feeling that stretch from the back of the left armpit all the way down to the left hip crease. Inhaling, taking a look towards the fingertips again. Exhaling, seeing if you can take the right hand this time around to the small of the back, palm facing up. And again, just opening up that right shoulder a little bit. It's a very subtle movement. You might encourage the left ear to come towards the left bicep, using it as a little bit of a pillow. And just twisting from the waist, seeing if you can open up through that right shoulder. One more big inhale here. As you exhale, unwind that right hand to meet the left and walk yourself right back to a nice neutral child's pose. Good. Inhaling here, looking forward towards the fingertips. We're just going to tent up on those fingertips. So you're pressing into the fingertips, the palms of the hands come up off of the mat, and also raising the elbows, the forearms, the biceps up off the mat. So we're in a little bit more of an active child's pose here. Looking up towards those fingertips and really pressing into the fingertips to raise the arms and the torso up off the mat. And exhale, release that hold and come back to your relaxed child's posture. And just let everything go in your child's pose here now. If you were holding on to any tension, let go of it and just let yourself melt into the mat. Just being cradled and supported by the earth beneath you. On your next inhale, beginning to press into the hips and legs, coming up into a tabletop position. So you're kind of on all fours here. Knees are underneath the hips, hip distance apart. Wrists are underneath the shoulders or just slightly in front of the shoulders. If your wrists are a little bit less flexible, it'll feel good to have them out a little bit in front of the shoulders so they're not performing as much flexion. So adjust here in your tabletop for whatever feels good to you. Engage the low core. We want to make sure we are actually mimicking that tabletop. So everything in the spine should feel nice and straight and parallel, as if somebody could actually come rest a tray right on your back if they wanted to. Good, really hug those elbows in. So instead of the pointy parts of the elbows facing right out to the side, you want to hug those in and back so it looks like, it feels like the elbows are trying to point back towards the knees. If you bent into the elbows would be pointing straight back to the knees instead of out to the sides. Good. Let's begin to wake up the spine here with our breath. So we exhale, undulating and rounding into the spine. Round the back and press up and away from the mat like an angry cat-like back. Here we're really pressing the hands, pressing all the joints of the fingers, pressing all the parts of the palms. Really engaging the low core so it feels like those belly muscles are trying to wrap up and around the ribs. Good. Even though we're breathing here in this cat pose, we're still really, really engaged, pressing through the shoulders, Grounding and tucking that tailbone as if the tailbone is trying to reach down between the knees. Good, and let's inhale, coming to the opposite direction into cow pose. So as you inhale, slowly letting the belly relax towards the mat. Open up through the chest, let the tailbone reach high, let the head reach high. Good, so you're still really actively pressing away from the mat in this posture. The shoulders are still very active. We're really opening up through the front of the body and feeling that stretch. A couple deep breaths in your cow pose here. A little tip, if you'd like to intensify your cow pose, you can always tuck the toes back underneath, making it a little bit more active. So the heels will be pointing up, the tailbone will be pointing up, crown of the head pointing up. Good, one more big inhale here. Exhale, untuck the toes if they were tucked, flat feet. And as you exhale, round back into that angry cat back. Press up and away from the mat, really push into the surface of all of the hands. Good, round the shoulders, round the tailbone. Feel as if the tailbone's tucking right down into between the knees. And feel free to rock back and forward a little bit in this cat pose, really accentuating the roundness of the spine here. Good, and coming back to a nice neutral still tabletop. Move from side to side, wiggle out that spine a little bit. You can do some nice big spine circles, so letting the belly drop, bring everything up through one side, around through the angry cat-like back, and down the other side. It's doing some nice big circles here, really waking up the motion of the spine. And you can take those spine circles in the other direction, so whatever way you were going, just reverse it. Bend to the elbows as much or as little as you like here to make these spine circles feel good. Good, and now we're gonna move a little more quickly with the breath between cat and cow. So every exhale, you should have that angry cat-like back. And every inhale, we're gonna move into cow pose, letting the belly drop, letting the tailbone and the head come high. Let's just move with the pace of your own breath here. Exhale, let the motion extend as long as the breath, round and press into that angry cat back. Inhale, open through the chest and shoulders, head and tailbone nice and high. Good, exhale and move with the breath. Round and press away from the mat, engage that little core. Inhale, open the chest and shoulders, let the belly drop to the mat. Good, 3 more times like this with the pace of your own breath. So exhale, press up and away, rounding, engaging, pressing, and inhale, open up and release. Good, 2 more, exhale, rounding up and away from the mat. Engage the core with that exhale breath. And inhale, reverse your position, allow that stretch to come through the front body. Good, last time, exhale, round back, round the shoulders, press away from the mat as much as you can. And inhale, open up through the chest and belly. Good, coming to a nice neutral tabletop here. We're gonna begin to thread the needle. So inhale, taking that left arm out to parallel, like a nice big T shape. Exhale, we're gonna take that left hand, thread it all the way underneath the right arm. So the left shoulder is gonna come to the mat. Left ear can rest on the mat. And when the ear makes its way to the mat, the right hand can walk all the way out towards the top of the mat. This kind of as a little extra counterbalance. It's gonna kind of be used as a kickstand to hold you in this twisted position here. Good, hip bones, sits bones nice and high. Making sure those hips stay nice and even so you're twisting from the torso. You might have the urge to let the hips sway over towards the right side. And just make sure you're keeping them centered above the knees, nice and neutral and centered.
Good. With your next inhale, begin to walk that right hand close towards the face again. So it's going to be right directly underneath your right shoulder. And exhale, press into that right hand, unwinding the left, coming back to your neutral tabletop. Good. Give the spine a little wiggle if you happen to need it. And coming to thread the needle on the opposite side. So inhale, take the right arm out like a big letter T or an airplane. And exhale, take the right arm all the way underneath the left, palm facing up. That right shoulder will eventually come to meet the mat. Right ear comes to the mat. And from there, you can begin to walk with the left arm all the way out towards the top of the mat. And that left arm is just helping counterbalance, acting as a little kickstand, helping to open and twist through the torso a little bit more. And breathe nice and deep here. Again, keeping those hips nice and centered, nice and neutral. The tendency might be for them to sway a little bit over towards the left to make it easier. So just reminding them gently to come back to center, making sure the hips stay right over top of the knees. Good. With your next inhale, slowly let that left hand walk its way back in front of the face, coming somewhere underneath the left shoulder, pressing into that left hand, unwinding, making your way back to a nice neutral tabletop. Good. Tuck the toes here. We're going to begin to hover the knees. So just press into the balls of the feet and toes and let the knees come up from the mat just a few inches. Again, hugging the elbows nice and close so they're facing back, because if you're going to bend them, they're going to touch the knees. Good, really engaging that low core, finding we're having to use those stabilizing muscles to keep us here. And with your next exhale, let the knees come back down to the mat, widen them, flatten the tops of feet, and sit your hips back into child's pose for a couple breaths. And catching your breath here, just coming back to those nice long neutral breaths we started with. Taking water here if that feels good for you. And otherwise, just coming back to the breathing, noticing the sensations of the breath and the sensations of the body. Your next inhale, look up towards the fingertips. Float the hips up through tabletop. You're going to begin to tuck the toes, press the hips up and back, and work your way into your first downward dog of the day. Feel free to adjust your stance as you need to. If you need to step your hands and feet further away from each other, that's going to make it a little bit less intense of a stretch. Definitely recommend that if you are a person with tight hamstrings or tight hips. If you do also happen to have cross handy, blocks can be a really great option here to have blocks under the hands and just help shorten the stance there if that's something that you need in your practice today. Good. Having a generous bend in the knees for your first down dog of the day is totally great. And just gently straightening one leg, bending it, straightening the other leg, bending. Good. You're going to inhale, take the right leg up into three-legged dog. Exhale, step it all the way through between the hands and lower the left knee back onto the mat. So left top of foot is nice and flat, left knee is nice and flat. Good. Just using the hands to support you getting into this posture however it feels good. Good. With hands on either side of that front leg, just beginning to rock back and forth, in and out of that sort of half split motion. And here we're just really waking up the hips very gently, waking up the hamstrings, only going as far as it feels good for your body today. So no need to be pushing or pulling extremely. Just breathing with the motions and seeing if your body is able to find its way a little bit deeper today. Every exhale, press the hips back, straightening the front right leg. Every inhale, bend the right leg and come a little bit further into that sort of left front hip split feeling. Move with your breath here, exhaling and inhaling. As you begin to extend a little bit more in your exhales, the hips go a little further back, you might be able to pop those right toes up. Good. And if you do get to this point, you want to really fully engage that foot. So the toes really feel like they're reaching back, almost as if they want to touch your own right knee. We know that's not possible, but that feels like the direction that they're wanting to move in. Really, really engaged. Good. Move with the breath one more time, coming forward over the right bent knee. So the idea is here, every breath kind of guiding you into a movement. You're seeing if you can just find your way a little bit deeper every time. Good. Exhale, moving forward over the bent knee, coming into that sort of front split feeling. And see if you can come to tent yourself up on the fingertips again, just like we did before. Sort of open the chest, extend into that split a little bit more. Good. With your next exhale, walk back so the front right leg is straightening again. Toes pop up nice and engaged. From here, tent onto the fingertips. And just see if you can really control and engage that stretch that you're feeling over that front right leg. So we're in kind of a half pyramid pose here. Good. And from those tented fingertips, seeing if you can gently control the torso to come a little bit further, closer towards that leg without rounding and bending the spine. So we don't want to compromise the stretch by having a really rounded and hunched spine just to feel like we're getting further. We want to make sure the spine is nice and straight and neutral, from the tip of the tailbone reaching all the way up long through the crown. Then with that nice straight spine, see if you can bend into the elbows to bring the straight spine and nice strong torso a little bit closer towards the knee. Good. With your next exhale, bend into that front leg again. Good, tenting up on the fingers, really sitting as deep as you can into that front left hip crease. Good, really breathe into that left hip crease here. Engage that left glute so it almost feels like your glute muscle is pressing down into that split motion even more. Good, from here, if it feels good for you, we're gonna take the left hand flat into the mat, just underneath that left shoulder. Take the right hand towards the top of the right knee. And with the foot flex, so again, those toes feel like they're reaching right up to touch your own kneecap. Just gonna ever so gently begin to lean that right leg out towards the outside of the mat. So again, foot is nice and flexed here. You're gonna be coming onto the outside right edge of the right foot, letting the right knee spill out a little bit over towards the right side of the mat. So that's gonna really help you come a little bit deeper into that hip crease stretch on the left side. And you're gonna really feel it on the outer hip and the glute of the right side. Breathe nice and deep here. Again, foot nice and flexed, protecting the ankle. Good. From here, inhale, reach that right arm up nice and tall. Fingertips high, looking up towards the right fingers. Good. Breathe deep here, twisting from the torso. Good. One more big inhale. As you exhale, right hand comes back to the right knee. Bring it back in nice and gently with control. Bringing the right hand to the inside of that right leg now. You might need to just walk the left hand over just a little bit further. So from here, we're in a lizard lunge. If this feels good for you, this is already a pretty intense hip stretch, so you can absolutely feel free to stay here if this is as much of a stretch as you feel like you need today. If you'd like to go any further and feel it a little bit more, you're going to tuck into that left back toe and lift that left back knee. That's going to really intensify the stretch on the front of the left leg. Again, only going here if it feels good for you today. Good. Breathe deep here. We're almost engaging some of those same muscles that we do with the angry cat-like back. We're really pressing into the mat with all of the surface in the hands. Really using those shoulders, engaging the presses up and away, and really engaging that low core. Good. From here, one more inhale. Exhale, lower that back left knee, flatten the top of the left foot. Let the right hand come back to the outside of the right leg. And we're going to walk those fingertips back, coming back to half pyramid. Again, we're going to be sitting in this one for a little bit longer now. So we did our sort of preparation to work our way into it before. And again, half pyramid is a pretty intense hip stretch. So modify as you need to if you have blocks or books that you can use underneath the hands to kind of help keep the torso up nice and high, prevent that rounding and hunching in the back. Any props you might want to use here are a great option. Again, we're wanting to keep the hips nice and neutral. And keep them centered under the torso. Keep those toes flexing back and up towards your own kneecap. Good. Feel like the tailbone and crown are reaching long away from each other. And from here, with this nice straight and neutral spine, if you feel like you can fold over that front pyramid leg a little bit more, hinging just from the hips, that is where your fold will come from. So just making sure you're not rounding the spine, hunching the spine in any way to make it seem like you're able to stretch further. And if you are using props here, as you feel a little more motion available to you, you can decrease the height of the props, allowing yourself to go a little further. You're eventually removing the props altogether if that's something for you. And always using the option of tenting up onto the fingers and just adjusting how much further you're going to go from that point. Good. Nice big inhale here. Exhaling, bending back into that front knee. Allow the hands to walk up, bracing on either side of the foot. I'm going to tuck those back left toes and come up onto the back left foot. So it's going to be on about a 45-degree angle. Coming into a warrior one stance here, if you're familiar with warrior one. So back foot's on about a 45-degree angle, and you do not want the legs in line with each other as if they're on a balance beam. You do still want the legs about hip distance apart. Good. From here, rolling up into your warrior one. And feeling the hips nice and centered. Torso centered over the hips. Tailbone is anchored down beneath you. So it feels like there's an anchor hanging off the tailbone. So instead of the tailbone sticking out to the back, it's going to be reaching right down beneath between the legs. Good. Bend that front knee. So the knee should be right over top of the ankle or just behind it. Good. From here, inhale, sweep both arms up. Looking up between the fingertips. And opening through the heart. Relaxing the shoulders, making sure they don't creep up around the ears. And just at any moment where we find stillness in a posture, just taking that time to come back to your breath. Just checking in on the quality of the breath, seeing how it feels in this pose. Inhale, looking up towards the fingertips. Exhale, bring the hands down on either side of that front foot. Press nice and strong into the mat. We're going to lift our right leg all the way back, step back with the left, coming into a plank posture. Good. Adjust your stance however you need to here to feel good. Good. Inhale nice and deep. And as we exhale, lowering chaturanga into lower push-up. You can lower the knees if you need to. Good. Lowering all the way down till the belly's on the mat. Good. Take a couple breaths here. With your next inhale, reach the arms back beside the ribs so the hands are going to be planted in the mat either side of the ribs. You're going to exhale, pressing up and back into either a cobra, a sphinx, or a full up dog, depending on which version feels good for you today. If you're in cobra or sphinx, just making sure that the glutes are fully engaged, the tailbone feels like it's reaching down towards the heels behind you. Good. From here, bending into the hips, sitting back over the heels and coming back to a child's posture for a few breaths. And again, finding your breath in child's posture here. Just noticing the quality of the breaths. Taking a nice big inhale with your next breath, looking up towards the fingertips, floating the hips up, tuck the toes and make your way back into your downward facing dog. Give your dog a little walk if you need it, alternating bending and straightening each leg. And finding some stillness in your down dog for just a few breaths here. And really pressing the front of the mat away from you with the hands, using all of the surface of each hand to engage. Let's inhale, take the left leg this time up into three-legged dog. Exhaling, step it through between the hands and lower that right knee and flat, top flap of right foot. Good. Again, just very slowly and gently becoming acquainted with this position on the side of the body. kind of moving the hips around as it feels good. Works its way into quite an intense hip stretch. We do tend to hold a lot of tension and emotion in our hips. So really just listening to your body and working your way into these postures as they feel right for you. Good. And we're going to begin to move gently with some of the breath. So tenting up onto the fingertips to allow you to walk yourself back. Again, keeping a really generous bend in the knee here for the first few times. Exhaling, moving back so the hips are over the right heel. Good. And then moving yourself forward so that that front left knee is bent and you're feeling the right front of the hip stretch. Good. Moving with the exhales so that the intense motion is being fueled by those exhales. Just moving with the time of your own breath here. So as I exhale, I come forward, I press into that right glute. So I'm really feeling that right front hip stretch. Nice big inhale here. And as I exhale, I move with that exhale. Straighten that front left leg, toes pop up towards my knee. And I'm sitting myself back a little bit more over the right heel to stretch underneath the right leg here. Good. And following these motions with your own breath, using the hands for balance and support on either side. Just working your way into that hip motion just as much as feels good for your body today. Begin to intensify that front stretch. So coming back to the front of your mat so that the front left knee is bent over the left ankle. And you're feeling that long front hip stretch on the right side. Good. Bring the right hand in underneath the right shoulders, pressing into all of the right hand, really using that to stabilize you here. Left hand is going to reach up nice and tall and make its way to the top of the left knee. And from here, just ever so gently allowing the left knee to splay out a little bit towards the left side of the mat. And if you are choosing to do this, remembering that that left foot is super nice and engaged, the toes are really strongly reaching up towards the left knee. That's going to help protect the ankle and allow you to roll onto the outer edge of the left foot. If it feels good for you, you can have the left hand on top of the left knee, just a little bit intensifying that stretch. You don't obviously want to be pushing down on it too hard, but just allowing the stretch to gently intensify, just assisting gravity a little bit there. Good. Inhale, take that left arm all the way up, looking up towards the left thumb, allowing the shoulders left to stack over right. See if you can sink just a little bit deeper into the hips here. Exhale, bring the left hand down to left knee. Gently guide it back in towards the body. And let that left hand now come back towards the outside of the left foot. Good. Take a gentle moment, catch your breath here. Have your props ready, if they are for you, to come into half pyramid on the other side. So as we exhale, beginning to let the hip go back over the right heel. Straightening into the left leg, let the left toes pop up towards the left knee. Good. As that left leg becomes straightened, now become more conscious of the spine, making sure that we're not hunching, rounding, or twisting it in any way to make sure that it's nice and neutral and strong here. And tenting up on the fingers to allow yourself to straighten and neutralize that spine as much as you can. If tenting on the fingers isn't enough, you're always have the option of having blocks. I've used books in the past when I didn't have blocks. Having something there to help lift the torso so that you're not going too far into the stretch. And you can use your props on any height or in any way that helps you out. Breathe deep here where you feel the stretch. Feel like you're sending that breath right into the back of that left leg. Allow the breath to dictate the motion here. So if you're feeling like a little bit more space is becoming available, you can always lower the height of your props to try and intensify the stretch. You can always remove the props altogether. And move with the breath here. Just gently inhale. Feel like you're lengthening the crown away from the tailbone. And exhale. See if you can fold a little bit more over that leg, as long as the fold is just coming from the hips. Making sure those hips stay nice and neutral. The tendency might be for the hips to sway over one way or the other to try and overcompensate. Just making sure they're staying nice and neutral and centered so you're getting the most benefit out of this posture. Good. One more full big inhale here. As you exhale, begin to bend that front left knee again, very gently, as we were just in a very intense hip stretch. Let the hands come back to support on either side of that foot. I'm going to begin to tuck the right toes, lift the right knee, and begin to place that right back foot into a warrior one stance. So it might hop forward just a little bit slightly to shorten the length of your stance. That back right foot's going to come onto about a 45-degree angle, flattening the foot as much as you can, pressing that right foot into the mat. Good. Left knee still bent. You're tented up on the fingers. Good. As you become nice and steady and ready in this stance here, so beginning to slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time so that the torso is now centered over the hips. And again, feel free to adjust stance here as much as you need. I kind of need to hop myself forward a little bit. Good. Again, we don't want the legs too much on a balance beam. Keeping them nice and hip distance apart will help balance here. Good. And the tendency might be for that right hip to peel open to the right a little bit more. You want to just really encourage the right hip forward and the left hip back, like just a little bit more than you think it might need to be. Good. Bend that front left knee. Anchor the tailbone centered beneath you, as we talked about before. Good. From here, inhaling, taking both arms up nice and tall. If it feels good for your neck, you can take the gaze up between the thumbs. And make sure the shoulders are not creeping up to the ears, creating any tension. Heart is nice and open here, but just make sure you're not spilling forward through the belly. Engage those ribs so the ribs feel like they're lacing up between the hip bones and the ribs together. Inhale, looking up between the palms. Exhale, reach down, let the hands come to support on either end of that left front foot. Good. Step the left leg back beside the right. Come into a tall plank. Good. We're going to just flow through here. So if it works for you, you can flow on through. If you need the cues, I will cue along. So exhale, lower chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, sphinx, or up dog. Exhale, fold through bent knees, tuck the toes, come up into downward facing dog. Good, a couple full breaths here. Last one, inhale. Exhale, bring the hips forward, come back to a tall plank. Exhale, lower all the way down, chaturanga. Inhale, fully here. Exhale, bend through hips and knees. Widen the knees and let the hips sit over the heels. Lower the forehead onto the mat, come into your child's posture. Good. Breathe deep in child's pose here. Check in with the quality of the breath. Take a break for a little sip of water if you need to. Three more nice full breaths here in your child's posture. Seeing if you can lengthen and extend the breaths to come back to those long, deep, relaxing breaths we started with. At the end of your final breath, look up towards the fingertips, press into the palms. Float the hips, tuck the toes, and raise the hips all the way up into downward dog. We're just here for a very brief transition. You're just gonna walk both feet all the way up behind the hands as much as you can. Bend super, super generously into the legs and let the hips come onto the mat. So we're now in a seated position with the feet facing forward. Good. We come to Navasana, boat pose. If you like to, for a little extra core workout, you can have a block, a prop of some kind, whatever, just between the knees. It's going to really help the adductor muscles to work together to bring the knees together. Okay, so finding that nice spot of balance on the sits bones. I'm going to float the legs up so the shins are parallel. Feet totally flexed, again, as if the toes are trying to reach up towards the knees. You can have the hands behind you or in front of you as a kickstand, really engage that low core. And if it feels good, float the arms up to parallel as well. Good, breathe deep here. Tendency tends to be to hold the breath on any postures that require a lot of balance and concentration. Good, really engage the muscles of the legs, keep the knees close together. Good, inhale fully here. We're going to exhale and hover our way down to the mat for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and fully let yourself relax. If you had a prop between the legs, you can just throw it off to the side. Stretch the arms and legs in opposite directions to the top and bottom of the mat. Stretch, 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 stretch. Hold on to that stretch and just fully release and relax. Just feel the support of the mat cradling you and supporting you. And from here, we're going to come into a reclined pigeon. So let's take both soles of feet into the mat, knees pointing nice and high to the ceiling. And stick the right leg all the way up, foot nice and flat and flexed. We're going to cross that right ankle over top of the left knee. So it's almost like you're making like a figure 4 or like a triangle if you look at the space between your legs. Good. If you have really, really tight hips or knees, this might be enough of a stretch for you here. You can take the right hand to the inside of the right knee and just press that knee away from you. And that will help intensify the stretch on the outer right hip. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you're going to take the right arm, between that little triangle that you made in your legs. Grab around the left knee. Left arm's going to come to meet the right hand around the left knee, and that's just going to gently bring the left knee towards you. As the left knee comes towards, it's going to be pressing the right ankle a little closer towards you, and the right knee is going to be stretching out to the side a little bit more. And the closer you bring that left knee, the more you're going to intensely feel the stretch on the outside of the right hip. And again, if you'd like to go a little bit further, you can then take that right elbow that's kind of in the crook of the right knee and just push the right knee outward very gently with that right elbow. Again, just to help intensify that stretch if that is something you need for your practice today. And toes here are really nice and flexed, the right foot especially. You want to protect that right ankle from any extra pressure, making sure those right toes are really flexed up towards the right knee. Release the grip on the left leg, let the left foot come back to the mat. Inhale, take that right leg up nice and tall, foot towards the ceiling. And now exhale, take the left leg up to match it, so both feet are up towards the ceiling. Good. Breathe nice and deep here for 3 breaths. You can take the hands to the backs of the thighs for support if that's helpful for you. Good, and at the end of that 3rd breath, you're gonna bend the right leg, let the right sole of foot come to the mat, and just come to the opposite side. So bending into the left knee, outside of left ankle comes to the top of the right knee, or the top of the right thigh. Good, again, just gauging where you're at. This side of your body might be different than the other side, so just be kind and gentle to whatever your body needs today. Again, if this is enough for you, you might just want to intensify the stretch here by taking the left hand to the inner left knee and pressing away. And if you'd like to feel a little bit more intensity, left leg threads through to come to the top of the right knee. Right hand comes to meet the left hand. Good, and as you bring that right knee a little bit closer towards you, just really feeling the stretch on the outside of the left hip and left bum cheek. And really engage and flex that foot, toes reaching up towards your own kneecap. Begin to unwind the same way we came. So letting the right sole of foot come back to the mat. Inhale, take that left leg nice and tall, bottom of foot towards the ceiling. Exhale, take the right leg up to match. Good. Nice big inhale breath here. And as you exhale, bend into both legs, bring the knees up towards the chin and chest, and just hug around both legs. Give yourself a nice little hug here. Maybe rock from side to side, give the back a massage on the mat. From here, let's place both the soles of the feet back into the mat, just like we did before. Making sure you're feeling all of the spine, as much of the spine as possible, pressing into the mat nice and flat. So you might just need to raise the hips, tuck the tailbone down like it's reaching towards the heel, and lower the hips again. Good, and from here, we're just gonna let the knees splay out open to either side. Soles of feet will come to meet together. And coming into reclined butterfly and Baddha Konasana. And take the hands to the tops of the thighs, just to very gently assist gravity here if you'd like to feel a little bit more of a stretch. Also be really nice to take opposite hands to elbows and just put both arms over top of your head in that position. If that's not for you, if shoulders are a little tight, you can take both arms out like cactus or like stop signs. So your elbows are bent at a 90 degrees, arms are sticking out to either side. It can be a really nice shoulder opener if you're a person with tight shoulders here. And again, just coming back to the breath, noticing any sensations in the body. Just quietly observing any changes in the body and the breath since your practice today. From here, we're coming into our final pose of Shavasana. So if there's any other posture you'd like to take in order for your practice to feel a little more complete today, then I'll invite you to gently do so in the next couple of moments. And otherwise, if you're ready to make your way to Shavasana, that just looks like extending both legs nice and long, having them slightly wider than hip distance apart, and just letting the feet splay out to either side. You can have the hands folded interlaced on the belly, or you can have them palms up, reaching down to either side of you. And again, depending on what feels good for you in your Shavasana posture, you can take the arms all the way out into a nice big T with the palms facing up, or you can have them a little closer down towards your side. The main idea here is just feeling fully relaxed and supported, being able to completely let go of any holding or tension in the body so you can achieve that sort of hammock feeling that you're just floating and being hammocked by the earth beneath you. Often Shavasana can be one of the hardest parts of our practice. Just sit quietly, observe the breath, and observe thoughts. And thoughts are not the enemy here. It's the mind's job to make thoughts. So if you're finding thoughts cropping up and coming in, just thank them and notice them and let them go, hopefully as easily as they came. And remind yourself that all those things you need to do, all those places you need to be, will still be there waiting for you after these few gentle minutes that you're going to take for yourself. I invite you to just sit quietly, lay quietly with your thoughts here in your body, and just observe the moment. And after 2 minutes, I will play the singing bowl to let you know that our time is up. But if you feel like you need longer in this posture today, do feel free to stay here for as much time as you need. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for joining me with your practice today. And I'd like to take a moment to encourage you to thank yourself for taking the time to practice today. Thank your body for all the hard work it does on a daily basis that you may not notice or acknowledge very consciously. Again, stay here as long as you feel you need to. I hope you have a beautiful and wonderful rest of your day today. Namaste.